13 News Now at 6 begins with breaking news at Naval Station Norfolk. A sailor from a helicopter squadron is dead.
We're told the sailor was working as a maintainer at the squadron when he was killed in a mishap on the flight line around 3:30 this afternoon.
The Department of Defense has not released the sailor's name or information about the squadron. The incident is under investigation. We'll update you the moment we learn more.
The Virginia Beach man who injected his ex-girlfriend with cyanide on Valentine's Day could spend the rest of his life behind bars.
It took just 15 minutes for a jury to recommend a life sentence for Joseph Merlino for the poisoning death of Ellie Tran. 13
News Now reporter Allie Weatherton was in the sentencing hearing today. And Allie, how did Merlino react to all of this news?
Well, David, Joseph Merlino had no emotion as the clerk read out life in prison without parole. Ellie Tran's family was relieved. They were crying and say justice is finally served.
It's very, very difficult to talk about this.
The Tran family is still dealing with unimaginable pain. On Valentine's Day in 2017, they lost a daughter, a mother, and a friend.
She is the sister that I will remember of every day.
Joseph Merlino injected his ex-girlfriend Ellie Tran with a high dose of cyanide. It was all caught on video.
I think that the evidence was clear as his guilt and his involvement in this murder, and I think that the jury returned that verdict and saw that as well.
During sentencing this morning, both the defense and the Commonwealth had impact witnesses. For the defense, it was a friend of Merlino's dad who passed away a few years ago. He says he's totally shocked by this and wanted the jurors to have, quote, mercy on Merlino. The Commonwealth's witness was Fee. There wasn't a dry eye in the courtroom when she explained that Tran's young daughter knows her mom is in the sky. Fee says one day the little girl was swinging very high and says she was looking for her mommy. Now the family is trying to move on. Fee Tran says it would be easier for her parents and Ellie's daughter to live in Vietnam, but she says her sister Ellie loved America and wanted her daughter to grow up here. They are doing everything they can to make that happen. Now Merlino's formal sentencing is scheduled for September 26th. Allie Weatherton, 13 News Now.
New at 6, the York County Supervisor is arrested while out on the water this weekend. Officers with Virginia Marine Resources Commission charged Chad Green with driving a boat while under the influence, as well as failing to stop for police. Green provided us with a statement. He said he was on his way home from dinner with his wife and her friends Saturday night. VMRC officers flipped on their lights. Green tells us he did not realize the officers were approaching his boat. As soon as he did, he signaled that he was going another 500 feet or so to his dock. In the statement, Green says, quote, "It was never my intent to give the impression I was evading them. Alcohol was involved and I did make errors in judgment and want to acknowledge that I will accept any and all responsibility for my actions and will work every day to do better to serve the people of York County."
Just moments ago, a hearing wrapped up in the identity fraud and forgery case against Portsmouth Councilman Mark Whitacre. Whitaker was indicted last year after an investigation into New Bethel Baptist Church, its development company, and its defunct credit union. Whitaker serves as assistant pastor at the church. 13 News Now investigative reporter Laura Geller is live in Portsmouth with what's happening. Laura.
Well, Janet, attorneys spent about 6.5 hours inside the courtroom arguing motions in front of the judge. The hearing just wrapped out about a half an hour ago. It started at 11 a.m. But for most of this hearing, members of the public and members of the media could not sit inside the courtroom. We were allowed in for just over an hour of what turned out to be a 6.5 hour hearing. After that, the judge said they needed to discuss testimony from the special grand jury, and in order to maintain the secrecy of that process, he cleared the courtroom. Now, according to court records, the 20 special grand jury indictments of forgery and identity fraud deal with loans given out by the credit union associated with Whitaker's church. Today in court, we learned from attorneys the special prosecutor assigned to the case will stay on. The judge denied a defense request to subpoena and recuse the prosecutor. We also learned the judge ruled defense attorneys and Dr. Whitaker did not engage in any wrongdoing. That discussion came in response to the prosecution motion questioning dealings with witnesses. When I left you here at 5, we were waiting for a judge to rule on whether or not the identity of a confidential informant could or should be revealed. We just learned in court a half an hour ago that it cannot and should not. Now back out here live, some of the motions argued in this hearing also had to deal with other witnesses, how they are treated, as well as history. They're very complicated, so we will have more on those motions for you on 13newsnow.com. Just look for this article. For now, we are live in Portsmouth. Laura Geller, 13 News Now.
We now know the name of the 21-year-old found dead inside a home near the Bruce's Park neighborhood. Jabray Crosby was killed inside his home on Bolton Street yesterday. That's just off Tidewater Drive. We're talking in Norfolk. We still don't know how he died, and police were calling this an undetermined death before declaring it a homicide early this morning. We will update you as we learn more.
The statistics are staggering. 2.5 million people are trafficked at any given moment. So Governor Ralph Northam is tightening the rules on people who commit human trafficking crimes in Virginia. 13 News Now reporter Megan Shin is here to explain.
David, Janet, worldwide human trafficking is a $31 billion business. Now the bill Northam signed today makes it so human trafficking crimes are an offense that won't receive bail.
Inside the Norfolk Police Department building.
It's a win-win.
Governor Northam is cracking down on human trafficking. He's signing a bill so traffickers can't get out on bond, in hopes of setting a nationwide trend.
It's all about public awareness, and oftentimes things will occur in one state and then other states will follow suit. So we certainly hope that will happen.
He's supported by an entire community in Hampton Roads, a community including the Hampton Roads Human Trafficking Task Force, funded through a grant from Attorney General Mark Herring.
Human trafficking will not be tolerated in Virginia.
Delegate Michael Mullen sponsors this bill.
We didn't want that cycle of abuse to continue.
He says the cycle works like this. The trafficker is arrested, gets out on bond, and pulls the victim back into this form of modern-day slavery. This bill cuts off the cycle. It's meant to help police keep the community safer and give trafficking victims help.
It gives us the ability to make sure that we're providing adequate services to the victims.
Victims like Arlington resident Barbara Amaya.
And it really shows to me that there's a paradigm shift, a mind shift.
Amaya says she wants all survivors like her to know help exists in the community.
It gives all survivors of human trafficking hope that perhaps something's being done.
If you or someone you know needs help, the human trafficking hotline number is on your screen. Take a look there. It's 1-888-373-7888. And signs of human trafficking that you can look out for include signs of physical abuse, malnutrition, submissive behavior, and a lack of control over the phone or cell phone or money. In the studio, Megan Shin, 13 News Now.